Yo, how's everybody doing? This is Mr. Anderson, True Crypto 28 on Twitter. So today we're bringing a video, very important video. This one is trading with an edge. I could have called it, how do you trade with an edge? Can you trade with an edge? Prove to me that you can trade with an edge. We could have come up with a lot of different scenarios, but I did post something on Twitter where I said I'd make a deal for you if there was demand for this. I'd be happy to post it. You know, the thing is that, first of all, what's edge? What is alpha? What does it even mean? You know, I'm a technical trader, been trading for more than 2 decades. And what I find as edge would be, well, first I would say let's come to an agreement that trading is an educational guess. I said it. I know it's a curse. People hate to say it. Oh my God, you're guessing? And then it's more like gambling, right? No, that's going way too far. But it is guessing. Why? Well, I always give just a silly example. Would you put your finger on the line? Say, all right, like I think price is going to go up, but if it doesn't go up, cut my finger off. You're unlikely to do that, and you certainly wouldn't do it 10 in a row or 20 in a row, right? So therefore, guess what? Why wouldn't you do that? Because there is a probability that you're right, and there is a probability that you are wrong, and therefore we do not know anything. Now, the good news is that should be your superpower. The moment you can admit that I don't know, that can also give you a lot of desire, and it should give you a lot of desire, to be the best at managing your money, right? You need to manage your money better than your competition. Now, going from there, going back to the original point, trading then is we can win or we can lose. Now, in a standard flat market, there's probably a 50% chance that price will go up or down significantly from that from that point. But we can look at it at some other elements and say, well, at pivot points, right, we might see that if price has been trending higher, we might be able to find edge and say, well, there's a 60% chance of it going one way versus the other, and that would be considered edge. Or we might say, look, if we can identify a uptrend, then having the ability to say I'm going to take trades in only that direction, meaning longs, would provide some element of an edge. Now it's up to us to then determine further ways to bring that edge out, of course. But I'm just wanting us to get to the point where we can agree that, hey, for the most part, if we're going to oversimplify things, trading is about 50-50. And I want to find ways to get it to 55-45, 60-40, 65-35 in my direction. I want to put myself into a position where I feel, okay, this is giving me more edge. Now, you'll always use your risk management. You'll always set a stop. You're always going to be willing to say, oh, this is my trading plan. I believe it's going to go to here, but if it goes down to this level first, then I'm out and I'm wrong, and you restart. But the mission of this particular video will be to show edge. Now, I'm going to jump further into that in a minute, but I also really wanted to use this particular video to kind of unleash the platform of Telegram, of what I'm going to do with my Telegram account. I do like the layout of Telegram in that it's just my post, and on Twitter, I mean, most people miss 90% of what I put. Even on Discord, I have a Discord where there's a lot of good communication amongst the traders, which I like that element of it. But what I don't like is that I might post something, same thing, because there's so much conversation, people don't see it. Whereas with Telegram, if I leave it where it's just me talking and me posting, someone, if they wanted to, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to go back and see things. And I feel that I can post material there that's going to help people learn how to fish, right? So I want my platform to be something to where, first and foremost, because I was a trader that was terrible for many years, I was one of the worst. A smart guy that just couldn't figure out trading. 2-3 years in, I was awful. And it was something like what I'm going to show you today, not exactly, but something along the lines in terms of a better comprehension of trading that allowed me to begin the process of thinking properly and utilizing things such as edge in my trading. Let me get a quick drink here. Thank you. All right, so that's going to be the idea. The other side of it, I will go over a couple different things here. First of all, I do have a free $100 for anyone that's wanting to participate in it. One of my partners, which is AlphaX. AlphaX is, for everyone that understands, is a decentralized exchange but it's from the people that brought you BingX, right? Centralized exchange BingX, which probably people are familiar that went through KYC. So first and foremost, if you're someone that utilizes BingX, you absolutely should have an AlphaX account because it is their decentralized partner. But the idea here is that what it does, now I'll have this link also below this particular video here as well, so you can check it out and go there. And again, the first 200 people will get a $100 bonus to utilize that for your trades and check it out. But there's some significant advantages. No KYC. If you're in the US, you do have to use an IP address that comes up from a non-US component by utilizing a VPN. I would assume that anybody that is in the US and is participating in crypto has a VPN. If not, I highly suggest that you utilize one. But regardless, you do that. But it gives you all the advantages that you would see with decentralized exchanges, right? You have the ability to use a crypto wallet. You can register with an email address. You have lots of different elements there. But without, by the way, you could still do an affiliate program if you guys want to be part of that as well. They'll give you commissions up to 50%, things of that nature. And it comes from that top 10 centralized exchange with a lot of experience. But the benefits, of course, are going to be significant in that it doesn't look like your normal DEX, right? It has the operation structure of the centralized exchanges that you're used to seeing, right? So again, biggest benefit here, they'll let you try it. You have $100, go in, check it out. It's great to have anyway, especially with everything that's going on with different KYCs and whatnot. Check that out if you don't mind, and give them a look. Now, what is this? The other element that I'll bring out, because I did mention my Telegram is going to be designed part one about showing people how to fish, but part two, and this one's a funny one for me, is that over time, I started first by building indicators to try to help people, and we'll talk about that indicator in a little bit. And then I wanted to show them ways to utilize it, which I still want to focus on that as well. And eventually we started getting into like signals and things of that nature. And then eventually I created algos that would actually produce returns for people as well. Well, at the moment I have one that we've been running for 18 months, right? So we're 18 months into this. And it's up over 300%. It's actually, I will tell you, with the settings we've used, it's actually up about 700%. But I like to use the 300% because it's the most conservative setting that we have. It's also something to where, for institutional clients, we charge for this. However, I also offer this very specifically. And by the way, they pay a lot of money. You'd be shocked by what it is, but no need to get into it. But the funny thing, the reason I bring this up is that I offer this for retail clients, people like yourself, right? Where they have the ability, you pay me nothing. That's where everyone goes sideways. They're like, what? What's in it for you? Too good to be true. This isn't possible. Well, I'm not promising you anything about the future because I don't know what the future holds. What I do know is that in the last 18 months, we're up 300%. What I also know is that since the moment we topped, we are up over 90%. What does that mean? In March, around March 14th, I just decided to pick that day. From that day, from the top, we were at 73,000 Bitcoins at roughly 59,000 at the time of me making this video. So you think, wow, we've been in this ugly high time frame chop. Everyone's telling me they're getting killed. They're losing money left and right. That's nice. I'm sorry to hear that. But this algo and this copy trade system is up over 90% during that time. We're also up over 29% in the past week, right? So, but by the way, it will have drawdowns. In fact, it's designed like that. What we do is we actually are happy to put out small little baby feeler positions. I got a couple different messages that stood out where people that recently joined, they send me some messages, and I'm sure they're going to send me follow-up messages too as well, apologizing, but they sent me a message and said, wow, this thing seems really good at longing resistance and shorting support. Oh, that's cute. But I got a kick out of it. I think it's funny. But the idea is that, no, that there's an intent on that. Like, we are actually looking at key levels, and we will throw testers at levels that are logical resistance points, because if they then break, what we do really well with this one is we stack positions. And we've been able to, more often than not, take advantage of a move. And then, of course, when we get into a real actual high time frame trend, it really blows things up, and it has, at least in the past. So for this, what's the main benefit? Well, first of all, you can use an exchange. So we set you up where you use your exchange. We give your exchange our API access, meaning they are the ones that are going to copy our trade. And then they allow you to have those trades duplicated. What that means is we have no access to your account. You're not sending us money. You're not sending me a payment. There's nothing along those lines that are going on. That's the safety element. That was the whole entire reason why I went through this dramatic process. And let me tell you, the process is a long one, right? You have developers, they have to set up different accounts. You have to have a master account, slave accounts, etc. We have to then be able to route the trades directly to the different exchanges. It is a major pain in the butt that has now been solved, thank God. But the idea is that it's a lot of work, and it was all for the safety and security aspects. Because I personally, at the moment, I sell nothing to retail. I mean, I sell nothing to anyone on Twitter. So if someone contacts you and say, hey, pay me for this, no, that has nothing to do with me. I do not charge anyone for anything at the moment. Now, look, maybe I'm going to decide to sell this at one day, not to you guys, meaning in general. Maybe I have a product in the future. I don't have anything against people that sell it. But I think it's funny because if I sold it, people would be far more interested. That's just how it works. It's a hilarious thing. Now, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of users of this thing, which is great. But it is funny to me that I literally am providing them a no-cost option. And the response is usually, one day maybe we'll just go through the messages where everyone could see. The messages are, well, this is too good to be true. Okay, and here's the other aspect of it. We also have the capability of allowing you to get set up on an exchange where let's say you had $10,000 and you say, well, the problem is I like to trade with my $10,000. Well, good for you. I would think that's a good thing. If you're comfortable trading, then you should want to trade with your $10,000. Well, you could assign that money to be traded 24/7, 365 days a year on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the two assets that we trade on this particular algo. And what it would do is it would then, 3 o'clock in the morning while you're sleeping, if an opportunity pops up, it makes the trade. 5 a.m., same thing. Middle of the night, you're out dinner, whatever it is. That's the point. It allows your money to work for you. And again, the results have been obvious. 300% since inception, 90% just since we topped. Really, the 300% is actually 700%, etc. I mean, that's where we've been. We can only look at where we've been, right? And I've also released the last month, the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the last 9 months, just so everyone has a full picture that we don't BS people. And I also tell people, like, there will be natural drawdowns, there will be some sideways action, but we've only made all-time highs consistently, which again happened this week, which again happened last week. In fact, at the time I'm making this video, I think we've won 18 straight trades. That gets confusing too, because some of the exchanges, what they'll do is as we sell it, they'll show it as like a hedge. So they'll actually show the original long, and they'll show some counter shorts. But in the end, the ROI is exactly the same. So it doesn't make a difference. It's just more of the aesthetics of it. But 18 in a row is where we stand. I should have showed that. Now, by the way, I couldn't care less if we won 18 in a row, lose 18 in a row. It's all the same in the end, basically, as long as you're growing your ROI. But the reason why I take so much time on this is people have asked me to make a video, and while I'm not going to make a video, I could probably clip this one. That's not true. Maybe I'll make a video on it next week, but I'm not going to make it today. So I figured let's talk about it, because that point that I was bringing up is that you can assign the $10,000 to be traded for you 24/7, 365 days a week. 365 days a year, nonstop, basically, is the point, while also maintaining the ability to utilize your money for trades as well. So if that money is in your account and you see a trade that you like, you can still trade it. What we're doing is not going to prevent you from making those trades. Now, can you go and 20x your account? No, of course not. But as long as you're not going suicidal on your position size and things of that nature, there's not an issue. Now, of course, there's ways to monitor that, things of that nature. If you're highly aggressive, then no, do not do that. But if you're a trader that wants to trade and say, no, sometimes I 1, 2, 3x my account on a trade, on a day trade or something along those lines, no problem. It's not going to be an issue. We stack trades, meaning we do push the envelope when we're in profit, but there's not going to have an effect on you having your trades as well. So there's not an opportunity cost, meaning there's not going to be a situation where you say, well, I wasn't able to take advantage of the fact that Tau had a breakout because I had my money assigned to their algo. No, you still can. You can participate in both, and that's kind of the point. The other thing that just makes me laugh is, again, I see these systems online, and people sell like their indicator access. And I look at I'm not going to say any names, but I'll look at the indicator, and I could see, first of all, I'm being in trading for over 20 something years, you can spot these things pretty quickly. I can see that they've copied an indicator, which is hilarious. I'm not going to name the indicator or the person, but these people charge. They charge actually a significant amount each month. And all it is literally a free indicator that you can get already online, and they make 1 or 2 slight adjustments to tweak it for their favor, and then they put some pretty colors. And the idea is that those people that are paying are happy to pay, and then they're also invested in learning it, which is hilarious. Now, it's good because you should be invested in learning your product, but the point is that happens because they're paying. Again, I don't get it. What? No cost for this, because I don't even, the main reason, really, I like money. The main reason that I don't charge specifically is I don't even want to get into the headache of collecting money. So that's it. One day I'll decide against that and say, you know what, it's too much free stuff, right? So I'm going to give it away. Now, by the way, you'll use there are ways for me to get supported. Like if you guys want to use my reference links or things of that nature, I welcome it. I like money. It's good. It helps me. I'm happy to have it. I appreciate it, right? You don't see me post links very often, obviously, but if I do, it happens. I just showed you a sponsor, right? I have a sponsor. So again, I don't want to come off giving you the wrong information. The real point is that this has just kicked ass consistently, and I find it laughable. I know this will grow significantly, and it already has grown significantly, but I know it's going to be where it's going to be several months from now because, I mean, look at what the performance has been. It's been absurd. And yet people don't take advantage. So for that, DM me, direct message me on Twitter. If someone, gets back to you and says, hey, pay me something, that's not me. And the reason I say that is that'll happen. Shouldn't happen from you DMing me, obviously, but there's so many fake me's out there. There's like 100 versions. So just make sure it's at TrueCrypto28. And then just, hey, I'm interested in the copy trade system. And then we send you a quick explanation of what it is, how you sign up, etc. You may not see us go over everything in that, but if you have questions or concerns, let us know and we will answer them, okay? Now, I didn't want this to be an advertisement for any of that, but it does hit me because most of the people I speak to tell me that they are either break-even traders or losing traders. And it blows my mind where I'm thinking, well, I mean, you don't want to make money. Like we're giving the opportunity to make money. And not to mention the fact that, yeah, if you watch it for a few months and then you want to say, well, this has made 90% in the last 5 months, meaning the entire account. So if you had a $10,000 account, it would be $19,000 now. Well, then you could also go back and say, let me do some homework. Let me look at their trades. What were they doing? By the way, we're going to talk about that on Telegram as well. It's part of Telegram is going to be that. So we're going to have these conversations. The other thing I'm doing is I'm now having another thing built out where I'm going to have second accounts. Now, these accounts are also going to be these copy accounts, but I'm having the developers make it so that we can make, meaning me and my team, can make manual trades, right? And I'll probably implement some alts in that as well. And of course, that's what everyone likes. They like when I'm doing the manual trades. Oh, I don't trust the algo. I mean, you don't want to trust an algo that's up 90% since March and 300%, well, 700% in the last 18 months. That's up to you. But the idea is the people that are already utilizing this will have the ability, no one else. I will not give that to anyone else. That anyone that's not using it will not have the ability to also join the second room. But that second one, once it's ready, and that's another big build out, but they're already working on it. Whether that's going to be ready in a couple weeks or who knows what, I never know with developers. But the idea is that the moment it is ready, we test it for a little bit, make sure it's good to go. And then I'll let everyone join that as well. So to give you a second chance to allow yourself to make some money. And with that, I will be more aggressive, not dangerous, but meaning if I have an account, the idea for that will be many multiples. So if someone has started with 5,000, if we get your account to 10 or 12,000 from that, as an example, we're probably going to then raise the aggressiveness in that and try to see if we can hit more and more multiples. That means risking a lot of those profits as well. But I believe in going about aggression in that way, in that if I'm playing with house money, meaning we're playing with profits, then that's the way I trade. So I could understand how I could see that could be something that's inviting to most people, but some may not. So you might say, well, no, I'll just stick with the algo instead of doing the more aggressive element. But again, we don't get aggressive until everyone's in profit. So what I would do with that is everyone would join. And then once they join, what we would do is we would wait until the account doubled. And we would stop any more allowing anyone else to join. So now we know everyone's in significant profit. And then at that point, if I felt the conditions were right, I might get more aggressive with that. So I, again, see that as big things. I didn't mean to even go that long in it, but again, I stress it because I know the majority of the people that are listening are traders that are not making money, traders that are struggling, traders that have bled their accounts down over and over again, keeping themselves in control. So it does shock me that I say, look, we're going to be in control of your directional bias, and people don't take advantage of it. So it is what it is. Moving on past all that, I want to jump back into this video that I promised to make for everybody. How do we create and find edge? Okay. Now, remember, it's my video of how I create edge, so I'm the one that's going to make the parameters for it. But in order to do so, I am going to have to walk you through some things. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you ahead of time that I'm going to lay out 4 parameters for what I consider directional bias. What is directional bias? Well, for the sake of communication within this particular video, I want you to understand that directional bias is going to be a predetermined decision on what direction I'm going to look for trades, okay? So what that means, again, if this video confuses you at any point, please stop, pause, do what you need to do. I'm going to be extensive in what I do because I want to prove a point. I want you to see visually with your eyes, right? This guy didn't BS me. He showed me every step of the way, right? I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties. Oh, I need to stop really quick and explain one thing, and then I'll jump right back into this point. Since day one, and anyone that's in Discord can tell you, from day one, the very first thing I said to everyone, I said, listen, market structure first, always. Never forget it. Ever, ever, ever. What does that mean? That means price action and market structure is number one. Your horizontal support and resistance are always number one in trading. I think it's so obvious that it doesn't even need to be mentioned. But I mentioned it in case there's some people listening that don't understand that. So that takes precedence over everything. I also don't find it beneficial to talk a lot about things like market structure because there are 1,000 videos on the internet that are available that can go into that for you. If you do not have a good concept of price action, understanding market structure, understanding trends and how it relates to your price action, identifying the trends, identifying higher highs, higher lows, lower highs, etc., I would suggest you take multiple weeks to look into the many videos that are available on YouTube till you get very proficient. Now, I will make some additional content that might focus on a very small element, right? So, for instance, I personally might have something that I like to look at, let's say right there, right? This would be anyone that knows me. Not that I didn't mean to get into this, but anyone that knows me knows that if we were looking at this whole scenario, even though we're in a nice downtrend here, my eyes would be right there, and they know why. And I'll explain that on a video one day. That would be something to be a nice little 20-30 minute video where I say, hey, here's the reason why this has a significant importance. And what you end up seeing is that way later would have set that alarm, and the moment we came back and hit that, we're in business again, right? So that's the kind of video that I'll make, as opposed to explaining higher high, higher low, etc. Get the bases down. You need to know it so well. You should know it where it's automatic. And then you need to, once you know it, you're also going to learn that, hey, I also have to take additional steps to understand multiple time frame price analysis or market structure, which is key as well. Because you could look at a daily and say, oh, well, I see the structure on the daily. But if you're not paying attention to the weekly, that's going to be problematic. You might say, oh, look at this. I just made a lower low. Hold on, son. You need to figure out where that weekly is going to close. It might close as a swing failure. And in fact, it might be a hold, right? There might be a nice hold in place that's actually telling you another sign. So not things we're going to get into, but I needed to point that out. And the reason why is because for this video, just to prove edge to you, I'm going to prove edge in such a way that you're going to see that, one, I'm not even going to speak very much about market structure or your supports and resistance. And that's the benefit about what we're going to talk about today, is that what I go over, no matter what edge you already possess, but if you know it, if you know, hey, I am good with this, I am very good with my support and resistance, I am very good with identifying, Elliott waves, I am very good in identifying momentum structures, I am very good. I have edge if utilizing X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that you're already good at. This can only help that, right? You can use them in combination to increase that edge. And that's the significant benefit. And that's something that's very important, right? Because with edge, you want to stack your edge if you can. You don't want to do paralysis by overanalysis, but you definitely would like to stack that edge. Let me get a drink here. All right. So hopefully you understand the long setup is with a purpose, because my goal is to make sure that as many people as possible are not lost throughout this process, that I get you to the point that you understand what I'm saying, why I'm saying it. It'll come together later, so don't worry about that. Let me just get this guy out the way. So what's my first piece of edge I'm going to go? Well, the first piece of edge I'm going to utilize today is just going to be a moving average, right? I'm throwing a moving average on this screen. And I want you to agree with me, right? Now, the agreement that we're going to have is that, hey, normally it's 50-50. You flip a coin, price is going to go up or down. And now the first thing I'm going to say is with this one little line that I put on the screen, it is my suggestion that this line alone gives me a slight advantage when I'm looking to long only if price is above this line, and when I'm looking to short only when price is below this line. And now that's just for this system, right? So don't go too deep in thinking other things. Just for the system that we're talking about today, would you agree with that? Well, let's take a look so that we can kind of understand. Well, look, I popped above the line. We did about 15 to 18 days of upside action. So pretty safe to say that, yeah, you definitely had much better than a 50-50 hit rate if you were looking for longs only. Now, in fairness, you had a lot of chop in here, right? You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 12 to 15 days of chop in here. That might have been quite difficult to hit on. I agree. These are 50-50s, not much better. But then you hit another 8-day streak of upside action. Then you hit a very long streak of sideways action. Absolutely. But then you hit a 12-day streak of downside action. So again, if I said like we're basically ignoring a lot of this. Now I said 15, 20 days. In reality, you know, a lot of this still might have paid off up and down. But I'm going to look at this as chop. So I'm going to say uptrend, chop, downtrend, uptrend, very small chop, uptrend, really nice one, right? 15 days or so. Just a little bit of chop here, 3-4 days, right back into the action. Maybe 30 days of massive upside action. Would you agree? Well, the good news is this is not our only piece of edge, right? But I just want you to tell you that I told you I was going to lay out 4. I also will point out that after I lay out the 4 parameters for directional bias, I'm going to lay out 2 parameters for your triggers, okay? So step 1 is going to be looking at this line on price action. Okay. What about 2? Well, step 2 is I'm moving from a daily to a weekly. Okay. Well, on that, what we're going to do is now just look at the weekly. Now, I have a blue line here. It's basically the same line on a weekly scale, but if I have 2 greens when they're on the same page, you're going to think I'm crazy. So I just made it blue for now. But on this weekly, suddenly, much more apparent, right? But why do you might look at this and say, well, geez, you should only use the weekly. Look at this. I mean, we went a year or so of uptrend. We went several months of downtrend. We went again several months and several months again, several months to the downside. Some chop in there, some really heavy high time frame chop, which is something we're incurring here. But significant downtrend, significant uptrend, heavy chop, and then amazing run again, you know, where you're running for half of a year to the upside. Again, if you knew to look for longs only during this period of time, don't tell me that you didn't kick ass, right? I mean, how could you not? I'm sorry. But we're going to get into finding those entries as well. Let me just go ahead and mark this here. Quick drink. All right, so that's it, right? A daily and a weekly. So now I have 2 parameters, and I'm going to combine these in a minute. But now that's what we're looking at for now, just so that you follow me. So what that means is that at the moment, I'm saying that criteria would have to meet both. For upside, I need price to be above both. For downside only, price needs to be below both. And when price is not in that situation at the moment, we would consider that a ranging mode or a chop mode. Simple, sweet. Moving on. What are we doing now? Well, I am now going to add another piece. Part 3 of this is going to be going back to the daily scale. And what I'm doing is I am going to look at a derivative of price, right? Now, we're going to get into the specifics later on. This video will be 12 hours long if I tell you this line is that, and this means that, and X is this, and this is the derivative of price that I'm looking at. The green line means this, and the red line means that, and the yellow line means that. Settle down. It's a derivative of price, right? A lot of people don't like derivatives of price. You'll see a lot of the guys that are just pure price action guys, and they swear like, oh, you don't need anything but price action. Well, that's funny. You'll see them having moving averages on their chart or volume or anything along those lines, which I love volume. Volume is very important. So if you don't see something on here, it's not that it's not important. It's just that I want to simplify it enough to where you see that I'm only doing a few things and I'm able to create edge, right? So, and by the way, I haven't even begun to show you the edge. I'm just giving you a slight visual so that we get there, because I don't want anyone at the end of this to say this guy BS'd us. That's the last thing you're going to say. So what now? Well, we're focused on the yellow line here, right? We have the yellow line, and all of the green and the red are just moving averages of these yellow lines. That's it. And the criteria is going to be the same. Now I want the yellow line above the green line. Now this is a momentum, right? We're using a momentum oscillator here. And this obviously is a derivative of price, but I like derivatives of price because once you understand price action, once you understand market structure, then why would you not look for other ways to give you advantageous abilities to jump in at pivots and things of that nature? So I think it's a flaw when someone confident. Now I could understand if someone says, "Hey, it's just not for me to use the derivative of price," but when someone says like, "Oh, you just don't need it. Price is king." I don't know. I find that ridiculous. I used to use price action only, and then as I became an expert in utilizing derivatives of price, I saw my trading take off dramatically, right? And this is one of the things. But for this video, all you really need to know, again, I will have a follow-up video for the people that just want to do this exact system, and we'll break down the specifics of each and every one. If I do that in this video, it'll be 9 hours long. This video is designed specifically to prove to you that I will create edge and you will leave this video saying you damn sure did, right? So here we go. The criteria now is twofold though. It's not ever going to be just the derivative. Like I said, price is king, right? So because of that, I say price is king, but it's just not the only thing that matters. There's a lot of other things that can be helpful to you while you're looking at price is king. So the idea here is that I need to have a match, right? So it's not important solely that the derivative, or in this case, the momentum, is giving me that reading by itself. What's important is that they both give it to me. So for the sake of argument here, I need both levels to be above the green. Now this might be a little bit hard for people to see, so maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. But as we see here, when this happens, which is right about there, I broke over the green level here on both the momentum and the price. Now, before here we see it happens, I'm just starting from this point. We can start wherever we want. But it starts here, and look what happens. I would only be looking for longs during this timeline. Does it mean I buy right here? No, we're going to get into the entries a little bit later. But at the moment, we buy, we're only looking for longs. And if that was the case, I can't imagine anyone saying like, oh yeah, you're really struggling in this scenario. And you would have been looking for that until about here, right? But you see these boxes. I'm going to give you one side note, and I'm going to show you this in writing that this is already one of the factors. There is a little side element to this where I need the yellow line above the green, right, as I mentioned. But I also can override that where the green or the red are above this 60 level. So if green or red is above the 60 level, well then the momentum side of this equation will stay on long only mode. And I'm going to have, I'll show you this several different ways. I'll show it to you visually so it makes more sense, and I'll show you too in writing where you could take a picture if you want, so you know we're not making things up. But the idea is that it stays in long only until the yellow line breaks below both the green and the yellow, right? Why? Because this is where some of your most impressive moves will occur. So if that does happen, here's another example here. Like, I don't care about this falling below green on momentum because these are both above the 60 level, and that's the go zone. So really all I want is the price to jump back above, which happens right here, and it's no coincidence that price literally just absolutely takes off in that situation, right? So just pointing that out. Again, I'm just laying out the parameters. I'm dragging it out intentionally because I don't want anyone to think I'm BSing you, and that's kind of the point. But let's just point it out here. So a lot of this is chop, chop, chop. We see that. We have below the green. So this would actually be downtrend, shorts only in that situation, right? Because it matches. Another long only mode goes somewhat up. Long only mode goes up for the most part. Small dip right there. So technically it would have stopped right there. Re-enter over here. Massive move up that you would have been looking for longs only. And just to speed this up a little bit, downtrend, downtrend, uptrend. These would have been the only times that you're looking for these scenarios. I might have missed one here while I'm just drawing it out. This part's not that important. It's more that you understand the parameter. Shorts, shorts, longs, shorts, shorts, longs, shorts, right? So we're going to get much more detailed than that in a minute. So don't worry about that. But I did want to point that out. And then you could probably guess that part 2 of this is going to be doing the exact same thing on the weekly. So this is parameter number 4. Parameter 1 is price above the green line. Parameter 2, price above the blue line. Both would have to be in place. Parameter 3, price above daily green on the momentum that we're utilizing. And 4 was going to be the weekly scale. You see the same rule applies. If these levels go above that 60 level, it's going to stay green, right? For a reason. That's the whole point, because that's how you catch the absolute biggest ones. Now, it's going to be late on the weekly scale. I will tell you, you might think this looks great, and it does from the point that it was activated, but certainly late because you just went parabolic. But of course, if you're on a weekly scale, you expect to be late, which is why I said earlier, like, you don't want to just use the weekly for your scenarios. But you're going to see how this pays off in a minute. I'm just setting everything up for you. Back down again, up again, down again, down again, and then the massive move. So you notice one thing is every time there is a massive move, it's catching the vast majority of those and has you trading only in that direction, which is a significant benefit. All right. Now, what am I showing you here? The only thing I'm showing you here, I just wanted to keep one page up. I'm going to remove some of this because I know visually this would drive people crazy. But I just want you to be able to look for yourself that, again, when you see these lines, I'm not BSing you. They match as they should, right? Yellow below red down here. Excuse me, yellow below green down here. Yellow below green down here. Yellow below the blue and the yellow. Excuse me, the price below the green and the blue on price action. That means red. That means we're looking for shorts only. We're not doing it on this time frame, so don't worry about how crazy it looks. But you'll notice that it goes red, orange, red, orange. Well, what does that mean? What? Orange, it means that now that criteria doesn't totally match, but it means the last signal was red, and then now we're no longer matching. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means we go from short only to ranging mode, right? And what is ranging mode? Well, ranging mode means I will take a short or long. Now, there's going to be ways to make this better, but we're going to oversimplify it and make it as simple as possible and take just about every trade just so people can see for themselves, yep, that has edge. Okay, so really this would be short only, longs or shorts, shorts only, longs or shorts, short only, long or short, short only, long or short, long only, long or short, long only, etc., etc., etc. And you'll notice that these are marked off already, so we can show you, make it very clear exactly what we did so that when I get to that section in a couple minutes, which we are going to be there very quickly, it all lines up and makes sense for you. And I wanted to show you. Now, keep in mind, when you're actually utilizing the system, you don't have to have any of these lines on your page. You just have to look this, that, and the other. And okay, I know I'm looking for only longs, or I know I'm on range mode, etc. Now, very quickly, you could pause this if you want. It doesn't matter. I literally just explained all this, so it's kind of pointless. The only thing that's added here so far in these directions is going to be the fact that I now already have the trigger, right? The trigger, what we're going to use, at least for this video now, of course, to enter trade, meaning trigger is going to be that I'm going to a lower time frame. We're going to use a 4-hour. You could definitely use a 2-hour as well. But with the trigger, I'm going to use 2 different elements to decide what a trigger will be, right? Now you'll see here it says yellow line, upper reset for short mode, lower line reset for long mode. Confusing when we read it just like this. Purple, which is faster, resetting without the yellow if it's a hidden bull or bear, or resetting with orderly price action momentum versus the last reset. I'll explain that because you hearing that alone is going to sound crazy. So let me go ahead and explain that. First of all, this tool that I'm now going to use for the trigger, I'm on a 4-hour time frame, and I'm going to use my tool, which is called True Vibration. probably going to change the name soon, but we're going to call it True Vibration. A lot of people use this. As I mentioned, I don't charge for it either. Don't ask me for it today because, again, we're finishing up the copy trade enrollments, but probably in the next week I'll allow people to take access to this. Again, the problem is that I have to have a staff that does it, and we take you through a quick disclosure, and it's a little bit time consuming, so I have to be prepared to do that. But again, anyone can have it that wants it. It's not a big deal. It's very reasonable. You don't pay for it, most importantly, so don't worry about that. And is it better than 98% of the stuff that's available out there, if not more? Yeah, it is. It is. But it's mine, and I like it, and it's for a reason, right? So the yellow is going to be the primary one that we're using mostly for simplicity of this video. And it's going to work like this. When we're in up mode only, right? So we're in an uptrend in this part of the video. I'm going to be looking for two key lines. This is the 80 line, this very solid white line. This is the 20 line. And I'm doing this again for the simplicity of this video. There's a lot more ways to look at this, but I want to point this out. We're going to focus on resets. Now the yellow line, because it's so smooth, it's actually called smooth vibration. It tends to provide you more of a basic oscillator feel that you would see that resets routinely, right? But what is a reset? For the video, it's going to be 20 and 80. And for me, what qualifies as a reset is going to be a move from down to up and then down again. What that means is if I'm going to ever compare a reset, whether it's purple or yellow, the way my comparison would look, and this is important, I'll go do a whole video on this as well. But for me, this is downside reset, upside, never made it to the downside, so I'm still working on upside. So all of these, right, are still upside, 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 upside. Just one continuation move, and then finally reset here. So if I was comparing this reset, I'm comparing it to the last reset. That's how it would work. Why? Because it was all one move until we finally got a reset again, which would be able to tell me like, oh, okay, well, clearly some divergence here in our favor, which means I would look for a long and certainly get a little bit of a long there. Does it always work out? No, it doesn't. To the downside, something similar, I wouldn't be looking at any of the, if I'm downside only, I wouldn't care about these bear resets that we show, right, or the bear crosses. I'm looking for the reset like that, right, where we come up and say, okay, well, this is going to be a short, and then we look for that short entry. But to make it clear, again, for simplicity of this video, the way it's going to work is that when we see a reset with, so if I'm in long only mode, I'm only looking for yellow line to drop below 20. My entry is going to be, it could be something like a local low if you're familiar with that, but we're just going to use the purple line crossing the 20. Now again, you can zoom in on lower time frames and sniper your entries much better than that and find more efficient ways to enter. But I'm going to do this just for the sake of the video of showing you clearly that we have significant edge utilizing this with directional bias. Okay, so follow me again. 20 cross by the yellow. I'm going to then take any signal the moment the purple recrosses at 20 as well. Now, the purple can also be a signal by itself if it makes that cross. And because it is faster, it happens more often, which will give you more entries. Now, some of the benefits of this are the fact that, of course, you can participate in more upside action or downside action when things are going your way. Some of the disadvantages that you might be a little bit early and you might get caught up in your time frames a little bit. You have to really have a good understanding of time frame analysis and what's happening, because sometimes when you're expecting something to take place, maybe you're on the 4 hour and the 12 hours what needs to reset, maybe the daily needs it, etc. So that's usually kind of what occurs, and as long as you're understanding that you're working within a subset of that daily time frame, then you're much more open to understanding that, hey, I just might be early. It's not a big deal. There's more trades that need to be made. But the point is that when I use the purple reset, right, I'm going to utilize it the same type of way. So in a situation, if I was looking for longs, right here's a reset. Where is the last one? Well, it's here, right? So I would be comparing here, it never reset, to that. And then that would tell me, well, look at this. This one is lower, right, than that one, though price is much higher. This is one hell of a hidden bull divergence, which would be a very nice signal for me. I wait for the 20 cross, as I just said. So right here on this one is where we would have entered and really nice upside move in that situation. Once you flip to the downside, this is actually good to show because it shows you one that doesn't work out. So a huge drop off. Now, of course, if you get a drop off like that, are you so eager to re-enter? Not really. Sure, but I'm just making a point that we get this reset right there, and then it does fall down. By the way, good timing. You see, like, no, it does drop. You see, actually, really, it's a 57 down to 54,000. So significant drop down, but could it get caught? Might have been a break-even trade. You might have had a late entry, maybe even a little loss. That's fine. The reason I bring it up is that you'll notice it goes right back up, and it's actually a higher reset, and that reset would not be compared to this one. I got to compare this because there was no in-between, so it didn't go down, up, down again. This could be a whole video to explain this because this is actually a deep, this could be something that's very powerful for people to learn this, right? But I'm just trying to give you the very brief element of this for trading alone, because a lot of people, that's one of the problems they're involved in, is they're actually comparing the wrong things, things they shouldn't compare. So again, just to point this out again, because this went into a position where it went reset up again and then no reset in between, I'm still going to compare this guy, just like I compared this one to this one. I'm also going to compare this one to this one. So even though I might have lost a trade here, I'm still willing to take on a trade up here. Now, normally with the purple line, we would lower the time frame for sure to be more accurate. But again, for the sake of this video, we'll just look for the purple line to recross 20 for entries, which would have given us an entry here. And then it just peeled off to the downside and things went well. In fact, it gave you yet another entry over here as well. Perfect. So you got a win and a win, etc. But we'll jump into the specifics in a minute. I just wanted to point that out, that those are going to be the two criteria only that we're going to look for entries, nothing else. Okay. Now, with that, I'm going to jump into the actual chart. Let me take a drink here before we start. So, quite the spiel just to explain to you that, yes, here's how we're going to utilize 4 key elements to understand what's going to give us edge in our directional bias. And then 2 elements that we'll use for entries. That's it. Obviously, on every trade, what would you do? You would set a stop loss, right? It could be, 1 ATR over the recent pivot high or pivot low, etc. It could be looking at your closest support and resistance if there's one there. Those are all fine. We're not going to take the time to go into all that. I'm going to make it very obvious to you of what the actual positions are and direction is, and you can make a decision if I'm BSing you or not, but I'm pretty sure I went over it so well that you're not going to think that. So you're in short only mode. Now suddenly things are going to get a lot clearer to you. You're going to understand a lot more of what I'm talking about right now. In short only mode, we would only be looking for short because of that red level. Well, guess what? Nothing appears during that time because we never got either of the 2 resets that we're looking for, right? So what then happens is we go into orange, right, which is chop mode, or what I'm going to classify as a ranging mode. And that means that I'm going to be open to taking longs and shorts. Now, I'm going to tell you that, hey, I believe in short only mode that we have a 60-40 edge or better when a signal appears. Now, maybe in chop mode that goes down to 55-45. I don't know. Let's say we have a 70-30 edge when we're in long or short mode. Well, maybe in chop mode we have a 60-40 or 58-42. Whatever it is, though, I will show you that there's going to be edge there, and you're going to say that is interesting. Okay, so here we go. Short only mode, nothing appears. Now we go into chop mode. Well, guess what? Good news. When this happens in chop mode, it's actually a good thing, because you'll still end up shorting, because a lot of times they like to run on you, right? These guys, they like to go and they like to take some liquidity and they like to make sure they burn some people and get the weak hands out before getting to the actual move. And guess what happens? This is going to be a short signal. Why? Because you're in hedge mode. You're in a mode here of where you're willing to go high. You're willing to go long or short. So the moment this passed that 20 level, all I'm going to wait for in this video is going to be the recross by this purple line of that white line right there. It happens right here. This is my entry, and guess what? You just made some money. But this comes into another reset on the downside. However, we switched into short mode. By the way, you're going to always take that with a smile. If you switch into short only mode when you're already in a short, that's a good sign, right? But there you go. That happens there. You had a winning trade. Great. We'll take it. We're in short only mode though. We would need a reset. It did not happen. Notice, so both short only modes, we didn't get a signal. Okay. That's very normal. Markets chop more than anything else. We didn't play this reset because we were in short only mode as well. So keep that in mind, that although there was a reset here, I'm going to go slow in the beginning, but then I'll really speed up once it's pretty clear that I'm following my own rules and you guys understand that. So what happens? We come up finally into another reset. Good. What are we waiting for on this particular video? We're waiting now after we reset right there. I'm going to now want this line to cross back below this 80 number, which happens right here. Now, debatable here to say like, well, wait a second, this went here and it's grabbed another swing failure. Again, it would have depended on where you decided to put your stop ultimately. You know, that's normally you'd say, well, 1 ATR above this level. You probably were okay, but I don't care if you call it a loss. It's not about that. But I do want to point out that it ends up dying, right? Whether you got in or not. Oh, there's something very important that I do want to point out that I did not. To sidetrack this a little, I really should have pointed it out right over here. So let me do that. I guess I got sidetracked. There's one other key element that I look for when in long mode or short mode only. The purple line here, okay. If the purple line is above 50, which is this green line here, right? That's why that green line there. So if you have this purple line and you're in long only, and it makes a move to the downside, so it reverses above 50 and then immediately reverses back above again, meaning up, just up. That for me is a re-entry, right? I'm willing to take a shot there because that in itself is going to have some edge, especially if you're correct on direction, right? So I'm willing to take the loss when I'm wrong in direction. So that means it must pivot above. Why? Because the way that formula is set up, that is not something that's actually so commonplace because it's an oscillator. So the fact that that's occurring, it shows you that someone else has kind of stepped in and there's going to be some edge ultimately to a push higher. So that happens right there, right? So I'm going to show you a few and how it works in an uptrend. By the way, there's going to be plenty of times that it doesn't work and I'm fine with it. But that's there, another entry. Another entry would be right there. Another entry would be right there. Another entry would be right there. Now this one didn't work so well, right? So that last one would have been a loss for you. And then this one went below 50, so it wouldn't have counted, even though you say, well, no, it would have worked out, but it doesn't matter. It's not a signal because it popped below 50. So therefore that eliminates that aspect of it. But why is that so beneficial? Because when I am on the right track, when you're on the right track with your trades, this type of trade is what can really help you stack, right? To really stack a position. So there's nothing, I promise you, there's nothing more pleasurable than having an H4 or H2 position where you're short, right? And midday you happen to be in your office, you're in front of your screen or you're on your phone, or trading, however you do it, and you add to your position. I promise you, it's one of the best feelings in the world, right? So here on this short, this would be an add because below 50, it reversed. So right there. Then below 50 here, it reverses again. You add it there, another down leg, right? Right here, we would have added again, another down leg. And this can get you in a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. But when you're implementing a system like this, that's long only, short only, it's significantly beneficial for you, or ranging that could allow you to play both sides. So that's the key. I just wanted to point that out. And the reason why I wanted to point that out here is like even within this process right here, right there would have been one hell of a short add. So let's just say even if you did get stopped out and you're watching this chop, seeing this might think, well, damn, this is taking forever, which I never like. I don't, when they take 8 to 10 candles, for me, I need to look at the new data and still evaluate if the idea is still strong, right? And that's always going to be key. So this purple line doing this right here, where it starts to mosey back up and reverse, right there, I'm back into a short. Your stop's much higher. So you could have participated with that scenario in play there. Which is something I like to see. Okay, we're back to short only mode. Big drop off, just the most significant, massive drop off that you've seen in a long time, which is great. We don't play any longs here because of the fact that we're in short only mode. We go back to another active signal. We're waiting for the cross here of purple. That happens right here on this candle. And what happens? Another nice leg down, which is good. Do you see this reset here? Yeah. Do you participate in it? You do not. We go into range mode. Reset here, yellow line gets there, purple line tries to get there. You might have entered here if you did a purple entry, which is about right there, and probably got stopped out. But once the yellow got there and the purple did its second count, you enter here for a short. Why? Because you're in range only. You'll take longs or shorts. So that's right here. And that's one hell of a move. And it happened pretty quickly too, which is always great. But guess what? Because we're in range mode, we're actually willing to play both sides of this. So I reset to the downside. That means I'm open to longs and shorts. I'm waiting for that cross. It happens right there. And you grind yourself higher. Now, with this little ugliness here, could you have gotten stopped out of this trade? You could have, but I do want you to see that overall, the grind higher happened. We're going to get stopped at times. We're going to set stops. We're going to put ourselves in position where it may not always work. But we do see that we immediately came back into this purple reset, which also has the divergence that we mentioned when I gave you those instructions right there. We'd like to see that. If the divergence happens within the resets of those purple lines, that is definitely one hell of a signal. And you can see it pays you off pretty well. In that, another downside reset. Guess what? Upside action. Nice. Purple reset. Downside action. Purple and yellow reset. Even better. Upside action. Now this one gives you the reset, right? But it doesn't quite give you the payoff here, right? This one kind of meanders. And you're in a position to where the recross happens right about there. That would have been that entry. So is that enough to have a winning trade? Yeah, 16, 18 hours and a movement of, $1,000. Yes, you could have had a winning trade in there, but I could also see how you can get caught at break even. I'm not here to get into the semantics. I just want to point out the ones that are clear. So that one, no big deal, but still in range mode all of this time. And guess what? Play it to the upside. That's a winner also. So somehow we've created within this system an ability to do very well within short only modes or long only modes, which we haven't seen a lot of. And yet in the chop mode, we went short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. Even at times where you had some break-even trades or some small losses, you're doing pretty damn well managing the chop as such, right? That's how, I'm not going to get into that specific, but the point is that it can make a big difference because you want to survive chop. That's the idea. If you can survive chop, you're doing great. If you can exceed in chop, now you're really kicking some ass, especially if you have a trending game mindset, right? See, I like to take advantage of trends more than anything else. So if you can have both of those in your tool bag, you're going places, right? So back into this again, I want to point out that it did in fact give a short. Not much came out of that one, right? So this one peels off, but look, it is a move lower, right? So you had one move lower, etc. Certainly playable on the lower time frames, and a lot of this stuff you would absolutely take to the lower time frames. Now, before we end up turning red, we did get one more purple reset. If you would have played that, it would have happened here, and yes, it's another leg up. I mean, that's magical. Look at this short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. I mean, that is a magical scenario. Now you see why I love this tool, right? But again, it's not the tool. No matter, I got thousands of people that say they use this tool. Hundreds, not thousands. Hundreds of people that say they use this tool very well. Scores of people that say they have changed their lives utilizing this tool. And still, I promise you, it's not the tool. The tool is great, and the tool is better than tools that are similar, right? So that gives you some edge, but it's not the tool, it's you. If you learn how to master, I'll give you an example. My wife is an artist, right? My wife is a very talented artist, amazing, and it blows my mind how she can paint something and how fast she can do it. Her brother is an amazing artist. Same thing. The guy can literally draw me in 7 minutes. The first time he did, I'm like, you got to be. I thought he was kidding, but I didn't even know he was doing it. Then the guy shows me a photo 7 minutes later, and I might as well have taken a picture. It was amazing. What is my point of bringing that up? She gets very good paintbrushes. And it makes a big difference for her, right? It doesn't make much of a difference for me. It's a slight difference, right? It's nice, but I'm not. Now she'll try to teach me some things I learned, etc. But the idea is the tool doesn't make the trader, right? The trader is the one that can take advantage of a good professional tool. So it's still going to be up to you to learn these things, to learn the concept, to understand things like orderly momentum structure, to understand the relationships between price action and your momentum structure, to understand the math that's involved in that, to understand that you're still subservient to the higher time frames, to understand trend, to understand some other advanced concepts if you can handle it. But you should only stack those one by one until you master one thing and then go into another. All right, you go back into short mode. Guess what happens before short mode, though? You were in range mode and you get this purple reset. Purple reset means we're open to a short. So that happens literally right here at the very top. turns red on you during that time, of course you're very happy. That means you also ignored the signal. Notice all the signals we're ignoring because of our knowledge and understanding and of edge, right? Because this is only edge. But the edge told us don't long here, don't long here, and guess what? You didn't for a reason. Even if it would have worked out, it's just not worth the stress for me. You do get a purple reset right here at the top. You would have only worked, you would only caught this one if you went to the low time frames. But of course, I mentioned that in the very beginning of the video. When you see purple, in reality, what I'm doing is I'm going to a lower time frame and I'm looking to really find myself a little sniper entry if I can get it. So something like that could have participated if you're blessed, but if not, no big deal. It is what it is. But what tends to happen, like there's also no reason, because you're in short only mode, to exit. I mean, you haven't seen anything. It never, the way I look at anything always is, has price gained a level or lost a level? The last thing it did it last gain a level or lose a level? Well, this one lost a level and it damn sure never reclaimed anything, right? So there's no reason to think like, let me get out of this. So it's very logical to have stayed in this type of trade the whole way through. The whole way through. You could have been in this thing riding it all the way down, at least part of it. And again, I did mention there's ways to add. For instance, that's an add right there. That's one of those very beginning when we gave you the rules here. So no, if you have the purple line that's turning down below 50 when you're in short only mode, that is an add position. So I would add to that position right there. And of course it bleeds out. You get another add position right there. It bleeds out another level, etc. Again, now when you start seeing some of them, by the way, at the end of the road, when you start adding, it's not paying you off pretty quickly, get out of that thing, right? But it is what it is. The point is that that's very well, and we're going to wait for another reset. That reset happens up here. Now, the first time on the purple reset, guess what? This one would have caught you. You lost. We haven't talked about a lot of losses. That's the crazy part, right? But they are definitely going to happen. I don't care if I lose 2, 5, 10, 15 in a row. If I'm taking feeler positions on it, I'm fine. I make my money stacking positions, right? Stacking on top of knowing that I'm doing well. And I say knowing, never know, but seeing that I'm doing well and things are in my favor, and I'm now getting continuous edge-based signals, and that allows me to add more and more and more and more. By the way, there's so many different other ways to utilize this particular tool that could have helped you to add as well that I'm not mentioning because it would only be confusing at this point. I mean, you see all this red for a reason. Yeah, that's added benefits to the reason why it's showing you all that red of why I might have added to that position in there. But regardless, that's not the point of this video. As I mentioned, I did want to point out that, hey, that's a loss right there. It wouldn't have worked out for you, but it goes right into another reset, and I'm right in short only mode, and it gave me the yellow as well. So of course I'm happy. So that short comes right here. It gives me yet another leg down. I don't care about the bull reset because I'm in short only mode. I get another reset right there. Another entry again, another leg down. I don't care about the bull side again. Get another reset on the purple side right there. Now this one you may not have participated in because of the big leg. So a lot of times, like, do you short immediately after that big leg? It's kind of hard to do that, and I understand. But if you did, it would have paid off in spades, obviously, as this was one hell of a move down. As we continue on short only mode, it's very natural that after you have a big run, right, at some point you're going to get caught, right? I'll continue to play those myself because I don't mind, but at the same time, like, look, this is a loss, right? So you did a purple reset. Of course, it's not as strong as getting the combo that we like. We get a purple reset. You might have taken a shot because you're hoping that she's just going to die. It didn't happen. You finally lose a trade there. Life, that's life. But here you do get that. You also get it with some divergence, so that's nice, but it didn't really bleed out that much, but enough to have a winning trade. So that works there. Sorry for the little dots that are confusing. And then we go back into range mode. So range mode finally will open us back up to longs again, right? I'll speed up tremendously through this in a minute. Purple upside, combo downside, combo upside. This one is a loss, right? Because you got a combo upside that didn't pay off. Excuse me, a combo downside because I'm in range mode that did not pay me off. In fact, I got burnt by it. We went higher. Before, you did not see, now we're in green mode, so we did not cross, that purple line did not cross before green mode happened, so there wouldn't have been a short here. No, a little bit of a long comes up right there. It's a real grinder. I'll call that a break even. I know it grinded higher, but in reality that's kind of a hard trade, so let's just call that a break even at best. And we go into a blue mode here. Blue gives us the option to go into both longs or shorts, and guess what, these get chopped up here, right? So a couple trades here we see like just didn't work out. Yeah, guess what? That's going to happen for sure, right? In fact, I'm kind of blown away of how accurate it's been. I wasn't quite, I didn't pick it intentionally that way. I mean, this has been insanely accurate. It's not always going to be that way. But Clearly edge. Well, that's good. That's kind of the point of the video, is the edge that it's pointed out. We're in green mode, so we would not have participated in the short. However, once we went into this range mode, it did give you that immediate bend, right? You see the purple line below 50, and it gives you that hook. Oh, that's not good, right? So that's telling you something. So right here, it showed me some weekend that happened to be a bearish engulfing anyway. So from that extra signal that I told you about, certainly you could have participated in this downside. There's so much going on here, by the way. This red line crossing that low 50, no bueno while that's happening as well. It's going to take a lot to recover that when that happens. And you'll notice, just if you want to do it without even understanding much of it, you can kind of see how that works. So this guy needs to recover this red line and get back above 50 before it really starts thinking about making a positive move here. Again, those are all advanced things that if you want to put the work into it, you can learn it. We are in range mode, by the way, though, so I do want to point out that this reset that happened here, you may have entertained the idea of going long. We never got that local low that I would have liked, so that could have saved you for sure, but the lower time frames might have gave you a long that you would have lost. So let's count this as a few losses, because that's definitely going to happen. But if we do count that, then we would have to also count, let me remove this one. So let's just redo that a little bit and say, like, yeah, you could have participated in a nice down move, but if you got involved here or here, certainly 1 or 2 losses in there for sure, if you were taking a counter. And then ultimately you do get yet another signal here too. Maybe the first one lost, the next one is a nice break of structure there, which is good. But look what it does give you, because we did mention you might have taken loss, but if that were to occur, you would have gotten a win. Then you would have certainly entered this one because you're still in range mode. That gives you the upside. Guess what? It gives you a downside. It's more of a downside drift than anything, so we don't take too much credit, but it goes right back into an upside, and that gives you that as well. So when you see that, those are the ones that actually make me the happiest, because if you can navigate that kind of chop, then life's pretty good. And that happened here, and guess what? Still in chop mode, waiting for that purple cross. It happens right here. You went from long to short again, and look what we did. I mean, I hope people are seeing this, right? I hope this is opening eyes for people to understand, like, it's easier for me to show you than for you to do it, of course. And I do want you to get really just have something drilled in, is that yes, I know what I'm doing, so therefore yes, my technique is important here. But more important than the technique is always going to be you comprehending it. Again, I always say I want you to be able to teach a college course. If you can't walk into a college and teach a course on this thing, you don't know it well enough. That means you got to learn it better, right? That's the key. What does that mean? That means understanding the how and the why and the purpose behind it. I'm willing to do more videos on that to break those type of things down. They're more boring, of course, but for people that are looking to learn how to make money, maybe it's not more boring, and that's kind of the person I want to reach anyway. I do want to point out that this went sideways, so this would have been a signal right there, and really just bled. It went sideways for a little bit, but then bled out. So loss here again, right? When you see me do that sideways thing, I'm saying loss. So you do have certainly some losses mixed in. But what would that have led into? Some divergence. You're still looking for range mode, so you're willing to take a long here if that's the case. Again, though, the way it chopped up, I see that as difficult. Did it end up going up? Yes, but I can see if someone got stopped there, because that was one hell of an ugly candle. Again, sometimes you're just on the wrong time frame. We go green only mode, but nothing comes into play. We roll back into a ranging mode, etc. So again, we're willing to take longs or shorts. This particular long kind of just meanders for quite some time, so naturally I'm going to want out of that. I mean, there's not really, if you waited 2 days, it ends up being a loss, but call it a loss or break even or whatever you want. You didn't want to stick around and watch it, which is very normal. Let's call it a small loss, because that's actually normal. I'm going to fast forward because I've given you so many examples, and I think I already proved my point, but I do want to get back into some green because we spent so much time here looking at red stuff. Of course, I mean, by the way, look how it performed again in some of these reds. Just giving you a brief version that when things are trending, this is going to kick ass for you, right? That's kind of the idea here, to understand, like, yeah, if you happen to catch this thing in some trend, what's going on? All of these, whether red or orange, are taking shorts, right? So I'll show you the first one. You say, well, yeah, it didn't do much. Oops, sorry, almost messed that one up. All right, so first one, don't mind swinging and missing. That's going to happen. If I knew how to use these controls, swing and miss, they're going to happen, but you entered here. It ends up being a perfect entry, gets you in. Down leg is awesome. You get other reasons for re-entry, etc. I'm going to only now be looking for shorts, only longs when this comes about, but we haven't seen any of the signals. So what happens? Another short here. That happened after the candle, so I don't want to take any credit for that, but you do see a little bit of follow through. Still in red only, so you wouldn't have looked for that long. Another short signal comes here, so you get to participate again. We're in short only mode when you get that reset, so it saves you from that. Yet again, it did its job. Over here, this short, again, it's a slow bleed, but a bleed nonetheless in the right direction, which is the thing we like to see, that at least has us directionally in a more favorable position. Back in here again, we wait for that cross. Now that happens here. The lower time frame would have got it even earlier, but I mean, this leads you into just a massive dead squander. By the way, the 2 hour would give you a lot better entries on a lot of these things and more specific, etc. And I like the 2 hour a lot, but I didn't want to be here all day long. This is already just a unbelievably long video, right? And then of course, when you're in these major downtrends and you're in that short only mode, again, I've told you this many times, but I'll point it out again. This going up and then reversing below 50 is a re-entry for me every time. Happening again, it's a re-entry for me again. It didn't happen. Oh, right there, it happened yet again. That's another re-entry right there. Just one more, gave you another little leg down. But the idea is that you're stacking on your position. Not only you participating in all this, and of course, if you're getting re-entries, you're only staying in it. But this gets you into a position to where now suddenly, instead of having a normal position size, I might have 2, 3, 4, 5 position sizes on that. And it really stacks up well, and you're in great position. Of course, you can shed along the way. Shedding is like taking some profits, adding back, taking some in this case, you're shorting, so you're buying back, shorting some more, buying back a little and taking profit, shorting some more. That would be considered shedding. But you get the point of how that works. Gives you one little short here again as you roll out. Not a big one, but one that works, a little bit for about 6 candles. Into range mode, happens again. Now I am going to skip forward here if I could, because I do want to go ahead and get into some of the green action, and I do want to kind of cut this video out and give you a little bit of review. But I just want to show you the same thing, like, hey, when we're in the green mode, like that's chop mode, etc. We've already showed you some green, but back into the win streaks, right? How does she do there? Well, maybe it only does good when things are bad. No. That's not the case. I mean, this is going to give you edge, and that's what it's all about, directional bias edge. And then the more you know, and the more edge you have in understanding your support and resistance, the more edge you have in understanding time frame analysis, multiple time frame analysis, the more edge you have in snipering and entry, the better. But this is giving you the directional bias itself in the direction that you want to trade, and that's significantly beneficial. So green only mode. Now, what did this give us during this? You see this huge move up. Well, guess what? We had an entry right there because it was that above 50 pivot on purple. A re-entry right there, 2 of them. A re-entry right there, 3 of them. A re-entry right there, 4 of them. Within that uptrend, you might not have had a reason to enter. And then you got several, one right there that didn't even count way in the beginning. 4, 5, 6, 7 reasons to go ahead and jump on for the ride. And of course, you're more willing to do so when you're already in trend. So that's significantly beneficial, and it just shows you that there's a little bit extra going on there. Which is why I love this particular tool. But we stay in that green only mode here. What do we do? These are actually long signals on purple that don't do a lot, but you're grinding in the right direction. You're grinding higher. You go right into a range mode, and the range mode takes you up, and then takes you down, and then takes you up again, and look right into a down again. And then this last up doesn't do anything, and this last down didn't do much either, etc. Call that one a loss, actually, because eventually I'll call it a break even, I guess, once it goes back on you, and you go back into that green mode, right? The green modes weren't giving you too much until here. You got a purple long, small grinding, they don't all take off, right? But giving you the proper direction where you're not getting crushed, to me, that's always something I'm happy with when that occurs. So that happened here. You're talking about an entry, comes back up. It's really just testing that recent supply zone on the lower time frame. Didn't do much with it. It happens. You turn back into the ranging mode over here. Ranging mode opens you up to the possibility of playing shorts. If you were to play a short, it would be here. Again, you don't have to take every one of these, but you can see it grinds itself lower. It gives you another one of those ranging shorts again. This one pays off. This one gives you a ranging long. It would not have activated until right here, and really it just goes sideways and does absolutely nothing for you during that time. I'll call it a loss, though. Even though it took that long and went sideways, we're still going to call it a loss because eventually that's the case. And then when in ranging mode, go back down. Again, we called that one a loss already, but we see it digs deeper, so that recross gives you right there an entry, and it gets you started before she even turns green. You're already active in this thing. It gives you a reset here. You're not looking for any bearish stuff because you're green only mode. Another move higher. Again, all I'm trying to do is point out that there is obvious edge in chop, there is obvious edge in trending, and we've just utilized a simple formula. I'll point out very fast now what some of these resets do. I'm not claiming that you would have got perfect entries or anything along those lines, but we'll see that you would have entered here, you would have shorted there, you would have thought about longs here, you would have considered shorts here, you would have considered a long here, and that would have lasted until about this level where you would have considered a short again. By the way, here you would have also, you could have added to possible longs, but then into a short again. Nothing really hits. Now you go into green only. You do get a little bit of a, now this is a common look, by the way. It doesn't do a lot. Sometimes you'll turn green, it just doesn't have it, right? On that, you turn green, it looks all right, but it just wasn't ready to go. You can learn later that can be one hell of a signal, actually. That doesn't do much with it, but it is what it is. The point is that it did enough for a trade on the low time frame for sure, but you would have seen some divergence come in. That's one of the reasons why we love that tool as well. You're saying, oh, okay, well, I'm seeing some divergence. Sometimes we will exit on divergence. Can be something beneficial that actually continues. This is what I call orderly momentum structure, where you start to see this process of where you go divergent high into an orderly structure that happens to be a range mode. That's a reset. That is a short. Now you went from a long into a short. Both worked out, right? And back into a long. This long, I'll call it break even. It tried a little bit, but let's call it a break even anyway. Again, on the lower time frames, maybe you would have had a small scalp or something along those lines. I like this because I was trying to show you bull mode, but we're not in bull mode yet because price isn't really moving. But you could see that while in bull mode, what's happening with the blue line, which is telling us we can take both, it's navigating it quite well. Now, this one gave you a little bit of a leg up, although this would have said down, not much would have happened. So that actually happens, but you would take all three. Why would you not, right? I always tell my guys that, like, no, if you feel that you have edge in the way you're playing things, you know, stick with that edge, right? So although I might have went strike one, strike two, home run, right? Strike one, strike two, home run. That's how we play it. Now within that process, you would have had a little bit of a loss there to the upside, followed by a nice grind higher that would have worked out. It tells you to go low again. It's going to be short again. It tells you to go for longs again. Some of this is choppy stuff that you really couldn't have navigated too well, but I'm going to just paint what it would have told you to do, and you can kind of see now, could you have navigated it as good as this? Probably not, but this is literally, please take a look, taking you from short to long, long to short, vice versa, and that's kind of the pattern. It worked out quite well because we're in range mode. Now finally you get one that pays off. These are the ones I like to focus on better because they make your day, obviously, when that occurs. Although in fairness, just so you see that, I shouldn't have marked it that way. Let me go back. Nice trade just in that. You would have considered it's a long. It grinded higher, right? Didn't give you so much, but it grinded higher, back into the next short, and then a next trade. Another long. Again, did it happen too quick? Sometimes a lot of these that I'm showing you might have happened too fast for you to actually participate in them, but I'm pointing them out nonetheless so that we see. And now we enter some of these times where we see some takeoffs. Let's just kind of see what would have happened in here. Did you get a signal? Not really. Again, this is one of those that it came late. But this is why that extra signal makes a lot of sense here, because really some of these will be in green mode and then get you that extra signal to participate in another leg up, which is why we like that. Going forward, let's see if we can kind of get back into that original mode. And I remember that time frame, that was that 6 months of chop there. But we see it did quite well. I will point out this area. This is the arrows are the same scenario that I pointed out earlier. Let me get one sip. All right. So these arrows here are actually going to be what I spoke about throughout this, which is how that purple line there, which is FSR, can be significantly beneficial. Let's just look into this green. So even in this chop zone, right, we're seeing suddenly these movements that are happening, and you get this above 50 level, you turn green. Let's just ignore this one. Let's say you didn't want it in the purple. we get a signal here because we're green only, right? So now here we are. We're already now happy to be in longs and looking for longs. And in fact, that would have activated right there, and it would have already given us a leg up. But we could have added here 3 more candles to the upside. We could have added there. Why? Because you went down, pivot, up again, right? So that happens right there. And we end up with this huge leg up, right? The benefit that can come from that in trending is significant, right? Take some time though to master that. So I don't want to make it seem like it's something easy or anything along those lines. It's not, but you can learn it, and that can give you tremendous edge in stacking on to your positions. So I do like to point that out. Now, again, these are long only modes anyway. So even within the chop, like you'll see where chop, the purple levels are happening right there, you still would have had a grind to the upside off of the purple long, a grind to the upside on the purple long, a grind to the upside on the purple long, a grind to the upside on, well, not this one, this is a nice move to the upside on the purple long, etc. Right? Take profits throughout, always pay yourself a little bit. Keep an eye on your support and resistance, of course. Keep an eye on your resistance, take some profits off when you do it. Always pay attention to, have I gained a level or have I lost a level? Have I recently reclaimed something, or have I lost a level or reclaimed it, right? Something like that. Okay, meaning it should be constant mindset of how you're looking. And the reason I say that is you might get a nice, if we're in a big bull mode and we see a significant move down, for a lot of people, they go, oh, we reversed. Hold on. Did we actually reclaim a level that we had taken previously? That's the key level. That's what we want to focus on. But again, those are its own videos. But by the way, we went into chop mode here from the blue, and it gave us a short, back into a long, back into a short. So all this is tight and choppy stuff. Look how it's navigating it pretty well. This, it did really well with that. This one would have been a little bit of a loss because it's one of those divergent scenarios, which gives us another grindy, nice signal, which would have given us into another long. I apologize. I totally messed that up. I'm going to reverse that. This short would not have counted. This short would not have counted. Why? We're in green only mode. I missed that. I apologize. But you've seen that it did well. Yes, in the blue mode, that part was real, which is navigating this quite well into this like little grindy zone. But once we turn green, you would not have looked at those shorts. My apologies for the confusion. That's going to happen at times. Perfect double signal, right? We like the double signal like that. Get the activator, and we're long. No reason to stop being long. And what happens now within this? What do we see? Why do I have those arrows there? The same scenario happened again. You're above 50. You're seeing that. We say above 50, above 80. It's even better, right? You see these type of things that could be good. Now, they'll top the same way. So I don't want you to think it's some magic sauce by itself, because tops will happen in the same scenario where it'll try. But sometimes that's a signal in itself. But you have to get good, right? I mean, you really have to get to a point where you understand these things, because it doesn't mean, people say failure. It's not that it failed. It's just that they attempted to retake that momentum again, right? It showed us the most momentum signature that we're looking for, but now the price action didn't follow. That in itself can be a very good signal, right? The best sell signals are often failed buy signals, right? So although this is one where it's more for an additive type of buy, it would make me pay attention, right? I would. So can we find one of those? So up, 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 up. Yes, cross signal. Good, good, good. Okay, so here's one where it happens right there. So now this same signal happens there, where we could have added, and we would have added, right? Because we added here and here and here and here and here and here and here. We had like 7 adds throughout this. So not only did you take part in this whole trade, but you could have added 7 different layers on top of it. But then right here, that particular signal that's been paying us doesn't go anywhere. We don't go make a new high. In fact, now we start chopping around. That should probably tell us something, right? That should probably tell us like, hey, there's problem in paradise. The first thing I would do, of course, is I'm going to come here and level that off. And then, of course, you end up with a little swing failure. Does that mean you're going to reverse and go short? No, but you probably would have been a little more careful with your longs. You probably would have taken a little more off the table, things of that nature. These are things you can pay attention to, but we're not taking credit for that in this particular video, because this video is not about that. Just some side small talk for you to have some basic understanding of things you can learn throughout this process. Okay, back into range mode. Range mode tells us that we're generally looking for longs during this time. We're generally looking for shorts during this time. We get a purple long, not as strong, but we'll get it during this time frame. It actually mows down lower into a green long, actually a double, which pays off back into that resistance. That resistance obviously now holds yet again. We don't look for shorts here because we're not in that blue mode. Blue mode comes here, which is our range mode, which does give us one short on these lower time frames, which we're happy to take. It does give us another one here that actually fails, so you know that's a loss right there. I want to point that out. Back into green mode, but no signal with the green mode, so we can't take any credit for it. No signal during that blue mode there. Can't take any credit for that either. I think I've given you like 250 examples, so I do think I've proven my point, but if we can just kind of zoom out and we'll finish it off, and then I'll do a slight review. So now you're going to turbo mode, right? What do you think it does in turbo mode? You think it's going to kick ass? Yeah, it's going to kick ass in turbo mode, right? So we're generally long during this time. We see there was a little fluff there, but you see the green turns back again. Plenty of these signals that I told you about that are going to reactivate the longs over and over and over again while in green only. Little bit of possibility of ranging here that we see. Go back into green only. This is absolutely a perfect signal that occurs right there. Gets you dynamically into it, gives you a re-entry right there as well. We add to it right there in that position. There was another add right there. I promise you, I'll show it to you, which is right here. You went down, up again on this purple level. So we would have added and added again right there. Both would have done extremely well. Again, we see some topping happen. We see some divergence happen. That doesn't mean short, but it does give us a signal that, hey, maybe it needs to take a little break and a cooler here. And that's what ends up happening. But it leads us into a purple signal long, which we're happy to continue to take, even though this one's a little bit more grindy. The grindy is up and right, which we like. So that works out quite well. We don't care about any of these upper resets, right? Those are all good for us because we're in bull only mode. And I hope that I've painted a picture here that has shown you, yes, edge with technical analysis is very possible. Yes, you can create systems that give you the ability to eyeball directional bias and make the decision on direction prior. Is this the only one? No. Is this the only way you should go about it? Absolutely not. Is it the best system that's ever existed? No, no one's saying that. No one's saying anything along those lines. But what it is it is something that is real. It is something that uses logic, that is sound. It is something that gives you edge, not perfection. That's my goal. That was the goal. Hopefully you enjoyed this particular video. If you do, I will tell you a couple things. First of all, if you could like it for circulation, probably shouldn't be bringing that up an hour and 30 minutes left when no one's listening anymore. But again, I will put in the bottom of this particular video a link to my Telegram, which you're welcome to join. Of course, if you do want us to go ahead and allow you to copy our trades that we have from our system, that's up significantly. Again, DM me on Twitter for that. We're happy to allow you to participate in that. We do want to mention sponsor one more time. If you want the free $100, that's also right down there as well. No reason not to take advantage. Go ahead and go to that exact site right there, or just click on the link that's in the description and you can take advantage of that. I'm out for now, but there will be follow-up videos on this that will talk about it. Again, if you want to leave some comments or anything along those lines, feel free to do so. I'm hoping that I opened your eyes. That was my goal. My goal was open your eyes, maybe inspire some people to see. There's also plenty of good traders out there that might say, well, you know what? I know I'm sound, but maybe I should be looking to add some additional pieces, because we all should. I'm looking, right? I'm in 25 years in the game, and I promise you, when I see someone do something, a lot of times I look and I realize, oh, they're just making things up. But if I happen to see someone that I respect, I want to kind of know, what's he doing? What is he doing is a little bit interesting. What's he doing a little different? Maybe he's doing something that I used to do that I forgot to do anymore. Things of that nature. So it's all about stacking our knowledge, stacking our pieces of edge, and then utilizing it to our advantage. It's never about perfection. I get chopped up a lot. I showed you scenarios. We ran through it quick, but some of those scenarios last 4, 5, 6, 7 days, right? So it might look and you say, it's just a couple losses. The thing kicked ass. Well, yeah, but you have to endure those losses maybe for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. It might have been only 4 losses there that happened in an 8-day period. But if you were only looking to trade one asset during that time, some people might get frustrated and never look at it again. You got to look at the bigger picture. So that was the goal with this. Again, Telegram will be all about that, so I would advise you to go ahead and jump on that. I'll begin releasing this type of material. Never this long, right? I think this is the longest one we're ever going to have, but it was for a purpose. But more condensed. Sometimes I'll go a little deeper, on something. Instead of being a 5-minute video, it might be 35 minutes, but it's going to be on one very targeted element. And that might bore some people to tears, but the people that truly are interested in learning, it's going to help them a lot. By the way, if you have a piece of alpha that you want to share, drop it in the comments for everyone that's watching as well. Like, hey, you know what? I like to do X, Y, and Z, and I find edge in it. I'd like to hear it. I'm sure others would as well. So, share the knowledge if you could. That's it for now. I'm out. Hopefully, I've proven to you that you can absolutely trade with edge. And in the continual videos, I will not post them here on Twitter. I will post them on Telegram. So you'll have to be a part of that, but I'll go into the very specifics, because if you want to use this system for yourself, you're more than welcome to. I will advise in those future videos that you shouldn't just jump into it. You have to really know it. You have to really learn it, etc., and embrace the idea that, yes, I am going to be wrong, and when I'm wrong, I'm going to exit, because that's what being a professional trader is really about in my book. So happy to do that again and share that with you, but don't get lost. Even though I just showed you something that I probably blew the minds of some people, don't get lost in my system, right? Or that system. I have many systems, but I have books of systems over 25 years. But my point is, don't get lost in focusing only on that. Focus on understanding it, right? When I talk to people about Wyckoff, I said, don't look at the chart of Wyckoff. Look at the terms, right? Understand what preliminary support means. Understand what all of these aspects mean specifically, so that you can have a better understanding and recognize it, because it's not going to look like a Wyckoff chart that you see online. You have to be able to identify things, and obviously with Wyckoff now, compare it to volume as well, and make sure that analysis matches up, etc. Same thing with this. If you just get caught in a couple things, you're going to start making mistakes. It's going to go wrong. The first time a few things go wrong, you're going to panic and act like a little girl. Not good. You don't want to do any of those things. You want to be mature, be an adult, realize that, hey, it is me. It's my trades. Maybe I'm adopting someone's system, but it's up to me to learn the ins and the outs, the ups and the downs. Because I can tell you, a lot of traders, what ends up happening in reality, you gotta be able to check yourself, right? It's hard. Your pride doesn't like it, but you really do have to be able to put yourself and say, let me look in the mirror. This is about me, right? If I'm losing, it's me, right? It's not Mr. Anderson didn't make you lose, right? It has to be about you realizing that I'm taking full responsibility for my trade. That's what changed my life when I realized that, because I had all kinds of excuses. I convinced myself that TA didn't work and all these different things. I'll tell that story another time. But when I came to that realization of like, wait a second, you can in fact find edge. That means that I've been the problem. It helped me to begin the process of identifying my flaws and being real with myself. And that was a battle that I still deal with today, right? And ultimately, it's made me a better human from that perspective, because in reality, we should do that in all aspects of life. If we can find our faults, then we can put ourselves into a position to overcome them, to set good habits, right? We can set good habits in our trading that can prevent us from a fatal flaw that we tend to make. One of those being something as simple as before your trade saying, well, I like it at 58,500, but if it hits 58,100, I'm wrong and I'm out. And that is a discipline that tells you that, no, I was wrong based on my original plan. Because a lot of people, what they do is they'll say 58.5, I like it. But if I'm 58.1, I'm wrong. It then goes down to 57,000. They're still holding it. They get lucky. It goes up to 61. And they're like, look at me. I'm a genius. No, bro, you were still wrong. It worked out for you because you got lucky. But that luck actually created a bad habit. That bad habit will eventually cost you money. You're actually on a path to destruction if you work that way, because who cares about right and wrong? I want to make money. I'm out for now. You guys can feel free to join me on this journey. I'm happy to do it, because like I said, I was a terrible trader myself. Feel free to support me as well if you'd like to, but if not, we'll survive it. Everyone hopefully is good and enjoying the weekend. I'm dropping this on a Friday, but I'll redrop it on Monday as well. Everyone, take care. Have a good one.